I watched my mother pour acid on my sister's face. What happened next will break your heart. My name is Omar, and the night I saw my mother destroy my sister's face with acid is a night that still haunts my dreams. I was only 9 years old, hiding behind a door, watching everything unfold. What I witnessed that night changed me forever. This is not just my sister's story, this is also mine. Before I continue, I want to ask you something. Please, take a moment and comment below where you are watching from. Whether you're in America, Europe, Africa, Asia, or anywhere else in this world, let me know. We are family in Christ, scattered across nations but united in faith. Let's connect, pray for one another, and stand together. Your comment matters. It reminds me that we are not alone in this fight. My name is Omar. I am 17 years old now, but when this story began, I was just a child of 9. I was born in Damascus, Syria, into a family that most people feared. My father was not an ordinary man. He was a high-ranking official in the government, someone whose name made grown men lower their voices. People whispered about the things he did, the people who disappeared because of him, the families torn apart by his orders. But to me, he was just my father, a man who rarely smiled and whose presence filled our home with silence. I had many siblings. My father had 3 wives, and together they gave him 16 children. But among all of us, there was one who stood out. Her name was Amira. She was my older sister, 14 years old when everything happened. She was different from the rest of us. While most of my siblings never went to school, my father sent Amira to private schools in Aleppo and Damascus. He told everyone she was special, that she reminded him of his first victory in politics. He wanted her to be educated, cultured, and ready to marry someone powerful. I loved my sister. She was kind to me when others ignored me. She would sneak me sweets from the kitchen and tell me stories at night when I couldn't sleep. But I also noticed how sad she seemed sometimes, how her smile never quite reached her eyes. I didn't understand why back then. I was just a child. When Amira turned 19, my father sent her to study in Lebanon at a famous university. I remember the day she left. My mother, Amira's mother, cried quietly as she packed her bags. She whispered something to Amira that I couldn't hear, but I saw the fear in her eyes. Amira hugged me tightly before she left. She told me she would miss me and that she would come back soon. I believed her. Months passed. Amira would call sometimes, and I could hear the change in her voice. She sounded happier, lighter, like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. But I didn't know what was happening in her life. I didn't know about the bullying she faced at university when students discovered who our father was. I didn't know about the young man named Elias who showed her kindness when everyone else hated her. And I didn't know about the faith she had found, a faith that would cost her everything. It was during a holiday break when Amira came home. I was so excited to see her. She looked different somehow, brighter, more alive. But there was also something in her eyes, something I couldn't name. It looked like courage mixed with fear. That evening, I was playing in the hallway when I heard voices coming from my mother's sitting room. The door was slightly open, and curiosity got the better of me. I crept closer and peeked through the gap. What I saw and heard that night would change my life forever. Amira was sitting across from our mother, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She was speaking, and even from where I stood, I could hear the tremor in her voice. She told our mother something that made the air in the room feel heavy and dangerous. She said she had been learning about Jesus in Lebanon. She said she had decided to follow him. I didn't fully understand what that meant at the time, but I understood enough. In our family, in our community, leaving Islam was the worst thing anyone could do. It was unforgivable. It was punishable by death. My mother's face went pale. Her hands started shaking. She stood up so quickly that her chair scraped loudly against the floor. She told Amira to stop talking, that she didn't understand what she was saying, that she was putting both their lives in danger. Her voice was low but sharp, like a knife cutting through the air. Amira tried to explain. She told our mother about the peace she had found, about how Jesus had changed her heart. She said she couldn't go back to pretending. She said she wanted our mother to know this peace too. But our mother didn't want to hear it. She grabbed Amira's hands so tightly that I saw Amira wince. She told her that if our father found out, he would kill them both. She begged Amira to keep quiet, to pray to Allah for forgiveness, to forget everything she had learned in Lebanon. Amira refused. She said she couldn't deny Jesus. She said her faith was not something she could pretend about. I saw the moment something broke inside my mother. Her fear turned into something darker, desperation, maybe even rage. She released Amira's hands and turned away. I heard her crying, whispering frantic prayers under her breath. I didn't stay to hear the rest. I ran back to my room, my heart pounding. I didn't understand everything that had happened, but I knew it was bad. Very bad. The next few days were strange. Amira stayed in her room most of the time. My mother avoided her. My father was still away in Idlib, but everyone knew he was coming back soon. The tension in the house was unbearable, like waiting for a storm to break. Then one night, it happened. I woke up to the sound of shouting. It was late, and the house was dark except for a dim light coming from the hallway. I got out of bed and tiptoed toward the noise. The voices were coming from my mother's sitting room again. I pressed myself against the wall and looked through the crack in the door. What I saw will haunt me for the rest of my life. Amira was standing in the middle of the room, her face wet with tears. My mother was pacing back and forth, her hands shaking. She was saying something about our father, about how he had heard rumors, about how he was coming home tomorrow and would kill them both. Amira tried to speak, but my mother cut her off. She told Amira that she had one last chance to repent, to say the words, to come back to Islam. Amira shook her head. She said she couldn't. She said she belonged to Jesus now. That's when I saw my mother reach for something on the table. It was a small bottle. I didn't know what was inside, but I saw the way my mother's hand trembled as she held it. Everything so fast. My mother lunged forward and threw the liquid from the bottle onto Amira's face. The scream that followed was unlike anything I had ever heard. It was raw, animalistic, filled with agony. Amira's hands flew to her face as she collapsed to the floor, writhing in pain. The smell hit me next, sharp, chemical, burning. My stomach turned. I stood frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe. My mother was crying now, sobbing, saying something about ruin, about shame, about how Amira had left her no choice. Amira was still screaming. Her skin was bubbling, melting. I could see the acid eating away at her face, her hands. She was clawing at herself, trying to wipe it off, but it only spread further. My mother shoved her toward the door. She told her to leave, to get out before our father came home. Amira stumbled toward the exit, blind and crying, her clothes soaked with the acid. And then she was gone. I don't remember how long I stood there. Eventually, a servant found me and carried me back to my room. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't stop seeing Amira's face, hearing her screams. The next morning, my mother told everyone that Amira had run away. My father came home furious, but he believed the story. He said Amira had dishonored the family and that we should never speak her name again. But I couldn't forget her. I couldn't forget what I had seen. Years passed. I grew older, but the memory of that night stayed with me. I learned to keep my head down, to obey without question, to fear my father the way everyone else did. But inside, something had changed. I started to wonder about the faith that had cost my sister everything. What kind of God was worth suffering for? What kind of love made someone willing to lose their family, their face, their life? When I turned 15, I secretly started searching for answers. I found a Bible hidden in an old bookstore in Damascus. I read it in secret, late at night when everyone was asleep. The words confused me at first, but they also stirred something deep inside me. I read about a man named Jesus who was beaten, mocked, and killed. I read about how he forgave the people who hurt him, how he prayed for them even as they drove nails into his hands. I read about love that didn't demand revenge, about grace that didn't need to be earned. And slowly, I began to understand why Amira had chosen this path. It took me 2 more years to make my own decision. I was 17 when I finally prayed, asking Jesus to forgive me and make me his. I didn't tell anyone. I couldn't. But I knew that one day, I would have to face the same choice Amira had faced. A few months ago, I received a message through a contact in Lebanon. It was from Amira. She was alive. Scarred, hidden, but alive. She told me about her life now, about the Christian community that had taken her in, about how she was still following Jesus despite everything. She told me she had forgiven our mother. That broke me. I didn't know how she could forgive the woman who had destroyed her face, who had thrown her out into the streets to die. But then I remembered the words Jesus had spoken on the cross. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Amira had become like him. I am writing this now from a small apartment in Turkey. I left Syria 3 weeks ago. My father doesn't know where I am, and I pray he never finds out. I am safe for now, but I know the danger is real. Every day I hear stories of others like me, people who left Islam for Christ, people who were killed by their own families for it. But I am not afraid anymore. I have seen what faith looks like when it costs everything. I have seen my sister's scars and her unshakable peace. I have seen the love of Jesus in the most broken places. And I have decided that he is worth it. To everyone watching this, I want to say something. If you are a Christian, please pray for people like my sister and me. Pray for the hidden believers in Syria, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and every place where confessing Christ means death. Your prayers matter. They are the reason some of us are still alive. If you are a Muslim reading this, I understand your fear. I understand the weight of family, tradition, and honor. But I also want you to know that there is a love greater than all of that. His name is Jesus. He sees you. He loves you. And he is waiting for you to take just one step toward him. If you are someone who wants to give your life to Christ, I want to lead you in a simple prayer. You don't have to say it out loud. You can whisper it in your heart. Jesus hears you. Pray with me. Jesus, I know I am a sinner. I know I cannot save myself. I believe you died on the cross for my sins and rose again. I ask you to forgive me and make me new. Come into my heart and be my Lord. I give you my life. If you prayed that prayer, welcome to the family. You are not alone. We are with you. Before I go, I want to ask you one more time, please comment below where you are from. Let's build a family of believers who pray for one another across borders, across languages, across cultures. Let's stand together. And to my sister, Amira, wherever you are, thank you. Thank you for showing me what it means to truly follow Jesus. Your scars are beautiful because they tell the story of his love. This is Omar, signing off. May God bless you and keep you. Until next time, stay strong in faith.